Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
And welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. In the show today, we have an interview with Patrick Coombs. Now, he is a renowned motivational speaker, one of my favorites, an author, and CEO of Bliss Champions. So today, our focus is going to be all about creating bliss in your business and personal life. I guide entrepreneurs and working professionals through profitable action steps for building a highly effective business from the ground up, creating strategic wealth preservation and lifestyle design so you have time for what matters most. So after the interview, I will be sharing some steps to help you create bliss in your business and personal life. Now, here's Patrick. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have special guest Patrick Coombs. He has coached 120 CEOs to realign with their greatest gifts and deepest purpose and to reinvent themselves for their next great chapter in their life. Additionally, for 25 years, he has shared his stories and strategies with millions of people around the globe as a motivational speaker and an expert on the pursuit of passion. Today, he is one of the only people in the world to have accomplished both a Hall of Fame speaking career and a comedic smash hit one-man theater show. And to that, Patrick is a 5-time author with more than 150,000 copies of his book sold. And you have a person who has overcome the odds and demonstrated what's possible when you lead your life with heart, passion, and purpose. He is here today to talk about his latest book, Purpose Code: Maximize Your Joy and Astound Yourself, and his company, Bliss Champions. All right. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Hey, thanks, Sheila. I'm excited to be here with you.
Yes, it's so good to see you again. So this show actually got started based on my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. There it is. The formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. I wrote it right before our pandemic. So we have had some situations that I couldn't even imagine. And yet it very much applies. And this show is based on that theory of getting back on track after a tough situation. So I'd love for you to share about a time in your business or personal life where you experienced a tough situation and how you got back on track.
Oh, okay, great. And congratulations on your book. I remember when it came out. Time in my life when I was off track. Well, I would say the biggest one was when I'd already known what alignment with my purpose and my greatest gifts and my joy was. And I had been living that for a decade through speaking, at least. And then I drifted off course because I had an idea that seemed pretty good, and it was to make a software company. And so I endeavored for 4 years, Sheila. Really, I set everything else aside, and I worked for 4 years on a software company. And it just kept near missing and near missing and near missing. And near missing meant it wasn't killing. It was justifying itself financially, just barely, meaning I wasn't able to draw a salary. Any money we made went back into the software company. And at the end of 4 years, it left me scratching my head saying, why doesn't this thing work? Like, it's not working. I poured myself into it. I'm not making money here. I'm not over the moon about our results. I'm not feeling joyful and alive and great. It's time to quit this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, so, it's not a story of completely falling apart. It's a story about misfiring for 4 years. And the key was I was misaligned with my greatest gifts and my deepest purpose. And the lesson was, I need to know exactly where my purpose is. And I need to know exactly, and I need to always stay aligned with leading from my greatest gifts. And even though the software company was a good idea and a pretty good fit for who I am, when you're either in extraordinary alignment or you're not. And so I got back into alignment, Sheila, with my gifts. And once I got back in alignment with my gifts, everything started to flourish again. I started to make the money again. I started to feel my most alive and to experience my greatest joys. So, look, in a nutshell, I would tell someone, look, I learned it's not aligned for me to be behind the scenes building a great software company. For some reason, that's not my purpose or my alignment.
Right.
But as soon as I get in front again and I'm coaching people to give their greatest gifts, I'm in alignment with who I was born to be, and the universe supports it.
Yes. Yes, that's so true. So how did you find this purpose? How did you get into alignment? What was that? Was it just one step at a time, or did you know what the purpose was and you're ignoring it, or how did that happen?
For someone to come in alignment with their purpose, the primary tool is to reflect backwards on where your life really worked, and where at the intersection of where your life seems to really work, because you've already experienced your purpose. Everybody's already experienced their purpose. Their purpose has always been there their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you do is you do a backwards investigation, and you're looking for the clues. And the primary two clues are, wow, my life was really working and I was really sourcing joy.
Yes.
It's at the intersection of those two things. So for me, it was looking back and saying, Patrick, when was your life really working? It was like, when I'm on stages,
Yeah.
my life really works, and I'm at maximum joy. So then I just give it a word. Like, what word would you give to your purpose? I'd say, and it's easy to give a couple words to your purpose once you spot it. And then there's this magical effect that happens, and I'll tell you about it after this. But my two words were, my one word is, if I'm on stage and I'm there to uplift people, things really work in my life.
Yes.
So uplifting has something to do with my purpose. It's like the stamp of God said, hey, we're making this model to uplift.
Yep.
But there are other words that I could apply to it that are also close. They map the territory, like to inspire or entertain. But see, inspiring and entertain have uplifting in common.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other word I can give to my purpose is, it has a lot to do with uplifting through performance. But that's being on stage as a speaker or an entertainer. Now, I told you there's a magical effect to when you identify the words that are kind of stamped on your soul. And they are the kind of the label for your purpose. When you identify those words and you say, I guess I'm just here to do that, you will quickly see, you can then look back in your life and say, God, it's always been there, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's always been there. That has always been an imprint on my soul that's kind of been tugging at me and nudging me to be that person, to be that version of myself. That's alignment with your purpose. Now, the beautiful thing is, when you align with your purpose, there are multiple avenues that you can unfold and live your purpose, how to live your purpose out. There's not just one thing to do. but it means you're playing to your greatest gifts. You're playing to your God-given strengths. You're just choosing it, at various chapters in your life, you're choosing which vehicle to drive in.
Yes.
But you're always headed the same direction. So Sheila, for me, it meant, hey, you know what? I got too far away from my purpose of being a performer of sorts who is here to uplift other people. So I returned to speaking, and I started the company. I co-founded the company Bliss Champions. And so Bliss, both are vehicles where I, through speaking, can uplift other people and get them in alignment with who they were born to be.
Yes, that's beautiful. That is so, and it's so true. No matter what you do, like for my own personal life, I always found myself leading groups and working with people and inspiring people in my own way. And I mean, I had gift stores as this young 23 to 25-year-old kid, and just opening these stores, and my passion, my heart of those stores was these kids. So I had these children that were coming out of like foster care, girls and boys homes, and they had nobody wanted to hire them. And I had close to 200 children, young adults that went through my training program. My business did incredibly well. I was really good at, gifts and retail, but my heart was those kids and helping people. And I think the community feels that. So even if you're placed in something, you think, well, this doesn't look like the box that I'm supposed to be in, but it is when you apply it. So,
when you apply it, so beautifully illustrated. So maybe we could just say it this way for the people listening. What I'm positive from life experience, not only my own, but helping other people now, is the universe is making you for a purpose. The universe makes each person and gives them a specialty. That specialty is this beautiful intersection of what you are gifted to do that brings you joy.
Right.
But I'm positive that the universe doesn't just print blank random people and say, no, you're capable of anything. We're all capable of anything, but we're all designed for something special. And that something special is every person has a unique gift to give. And when you say, when you identify that unique gift at the intersection of you do it well and it brings you great joy, and then you just live from that, you lean into that, you trust that's what you should do with your life, you should leverage that, then life goes very different. It goes better.
Yes, and easier.
Easier.
I feel like I kept getting realigned when things didn't work out because it wasn't what I was supposed to do. It was what people told me I was supposed to do, to make money. And the only time I didn't really make money was when I chased it. The rest of the time it just showed up because I was just helping people and doing my thing. And so it's about letting go of that. The preconceived how we do it, I think, has a lot to do with it. You already know what it is, but how do you apply it? So, Patrick, I'd like to know, tell me, if I were to join your program, what would that look like? Can you give me an example of how that looks?
Our program, Bliss Champions, is designed very specifically for high-level entrepreneurs or CEOs. And high level means that the people that come to us have accomplished big things. They're not beginners at success. A lot of times they're sitting on top of very large companies that they created. Okay. And if it's not a very large company, it's still a very successful one. But what they all have in common, and the reason we exist, is people build these towers and everybody views them as the most successful person in their circle. And for a while, the building of that tower was extraordinarily satisfying. But there comes a point in every entrepreneur or CEO's journey where they're privately, secretly experiencing the feeling that something is missing. And that something has a lot to do with a couple things. They feel like, isn't it supposed to be more joyful than this? How did I build something so remarkable and yet I'm not ecstatic? I'm not truly joyful. is sometimes I like to say, how come you can build something really remarkable and tremendously successful, but the guide in the back of your rafting, your white water rafting, boat is much happier than you,
Right.
right? Because we all deserve that same level of happiness, especially if we build something significant. We should be as happy as the guide is the river guide.
Yes.
So, and then the other thing that CEOs, and there was a survey in 2015 done on 200 CEOs, and those 200 CEOs privately reported that 50% of them said were aware that they're not utilizing their greatest gifts. There's something about building a company that can take you away from your gifts because you become responsible for so many people, and you become responsible for all the things that are hard that need to be solved. And when you reach that place, that's where you might intersect with Bliss Champions, because Bliss Champion says, we understand. We understand that other people don't understand. And we have a process for getting you back to giving your greatest gifts and experiencing your real joy. But our process is specialized to protect these individuals from having to lose what they worked so hard to build, or having to go backwards, or having to make very difficult choices, because their map is, hey, I've built something significant. But when someone gets involved with the Sheila, now to be able to sort of more didactically answer your question, they're involved in a very small curated group of 6 to 8 other individuals like themselves, and through coaching and a retreat, an extraordinarily intense, joyful retreat in Hawaii, they emerge on the other side of those complex problems, and they are realigned with their purpose, and they have a plan to utilize their greatest gifts.
Incredible.
Or as Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss.
Yes.
And we introduce them to what exactly he meant by follow your bliss, and we help them identify where is their bliss calling them into the next great chapter of their life without going backwards.
So really, you can have both.
We don't use the word. Yeah, we eliminate the word "or" because it's a mindset a lot of our clients bring to us is, well, you're asking me to do this or this, and we're like, no, we're asking you to do this and this plus things together in your life.
Yes. So it's a synergistic integration
of
life purpose and what you're already doing, and just creating something even better.
Wow. Joseph Campbell is the guy who articulated the hero's journey, as you know. So anytime you hear a reference to the hero's journey, that's Joseph Campbell's material. And Joseph Campbell was a scholar and a professor and a renowned author. And so somebody once asked Joseph, and Joseph Campbell is the one who popularized the phrase, who invented the phrase, follow your bliss, which was infinitely more popular in the 70s, fell out of popularity in the 80s and the 90s, but is still an extraordinary directive in life, is to follow your bliss. But Bill Moyers once asked him, what is your bliss? What do you mean by bliss? And his definition was really simple. He's like, that which brings you joy. Like, find what brings you joy and stick to that, was his directive. Now, although that seems simplistic, it's very difficult for 99% of people on earth to truly embrace and discern. We're not a culture that is steeped in a value of joy. We're a culture that's steeped in a value of money and a value of significance. And there's nothing wrong with significance, and there's nothing wrong with money. But when they're done at the expense of joy, everybody hits a wall and says, I've got money, I've got significance. Is that all there is? So when they asked Joseph Campbell, who articulated the hero's journey, what is the ultimate meaning of the hero's journey? When the hero goes on this quest, following their bliss, leaving home, meeting with mentors, crossing the desert, rising to the occasion, what is the quest for?
Right.
It brings about great treasures. And Joseph Campbell's answer was profound. And it's true for all of us. because we're all on our own hero's journey. He said, the hero's journey is a quest for aliveness.
Yes.
The hero's greatest reward is aliveness. When our clients come to us because something in them feels deadened,
Mm.
and when they leave us, they are reconnected to aliveness. And that aliveness is that feeling where you go, I'm passionate, I'm in alignment, I'm purposeful, I'm giving my greatest gifts, I'm loving life, and I feel connected to the people around me. So that, on the face, follow your bliss sounds like a simple directive, but there are many obstacles to that simple but profound directive, and they're complex. So we handle the complexity of making that internal and external shift to what is truly joyful and purposeful and aligned for a purpose, for a person that operates at a very high level.
Yes. Wow. That sounds incredible and so important. Now, for those listening in, what do you have this book out? Is the book connected to what you're doing now, the new book? Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. So this is a great way to start with reading this book.
Yeah, the book is actually was written 3 years into running the company. So it is based on the experience we've had with 120 clients and our own life experience. My partner and I, my partner is an epic entrepreneur who is a 9-figure entrepreneur who has built 20 companies, several of them global. I myself, if you will, have had a very strong solopreneur career as a Hall of Fame speaker, as a stage comedian with a one-person show, as a best-selling author, and a coach and strategist for major corporations. So together we wrote the book Purpose Code. The subtitle on the book is Maximize Your Joy and Astound Yourself. So when the hero goes on the journey to their bliss, they end up astounding themselves, which is a feeling of great aliveness. The book will take any individual, whether you're a CEO or not. It will take any individual, and it will help you follow our process. It unfolds our process for how do you figure out what your purpose is? What is bliss? How do you know where your bliss is calling you? How do you get past the limiting beliefs that rear their ugly head for everybody? And then how do you actually bring that around to a step-by-step plan for moving forward? And what are the major pitfalls that everybody falls into? And I'd like to offer one of those pitfalls right away. Okay.
Yes.
So when somebody gets excited about these concepts, which hopefully everybody listening does, hopefully everybody would like to be in alignment with their greatest joy and their greatest gifts, right? And what they were born to do. It's a very sweet spot to run your life from. But when you're new to it, and if you do happen to on your own to discern this is where my bliss and my joy is calling me, the number one mistake that everybody makes is rushing into what we call the snake pit of how. They dive too quickly into how they're going to do it. And that is probably the number one pitfall that will stop people from getting to fully actualize what would be a blissful career move for themselves. The how you're going to do it should actually come about 6 steps later, after a full investigation of a lot of other things. And if you do the how too early, the number one thing you're probably going to do is choose the wrong vehicle to move forward in, and find yourself desiring to quit your bliss because you chose the wrong vehicle to do it in. Does that make sense? A lot of people on this call have experienced getting excited about something and then rushing into it only to conclude, oh, I got falsely excited. But the truth is you didn't get falsely excited. You got appropriately excited about where your purpose and your bliss intersect, but you rushed to how you wanted to implement it too soon. So if someone reads the book, they'll say, oh, what are the steps in between discerning my bliss and deciding how to execute on it?
Very good. Now, Patrick, I want to go back a little bit. I wanted to have you share a little bit about your past experience. You have the one-man show. What exactly is that? What was that about?
Oh, thanks, Sheila, for asking. There is a medium in theater. There's a form of theater called the one-person show. And that means it's just you out on the stage for 2 hours. My show happened to be 2 hours. And my show was intended, my show was just strictly for entertainment, laughs, and drama. It was called Man One, Bank Zero. And it meant that my job for 14 years and 400 shows around the world was to go out on stage and entertain with a real true story from my life. And so I would take on 15 different characters in the show. I'd, play the old man or the young woman or my mother or my brother or the bank security officer or the lawyer. And so it was acting and showing some slides is sort of the documentary element of it. But most of all, just taking the audience on the journey of a true experience from my life so that they could experience it with me in real time. And it won many top comedy awards. I got unbelievable invitations to perform in the two most rarefied comedy events on the planet. One is HBO's Comedy Festival in the United States of America. I was invite only, so there I was performing with the likes of Jack Black and Joe Rogan and Chris Rock and Jim Carrey and Sarah Jessica Parker. I couldn't believe I was standing around those people. And then to perform in Just for Laughs, the #1 comedy festival in the world. And as I said, I toured it for 15 years, and that's what the show was about, was telling the audience an extraordinary story. I have a book on it. Yeah. The book is currently published under the title Cash Me If You Can, because Hollywood is attempting to make it into a movie. Cash Me If You Can.
Nice. Yes. And I actually attended one of those shows that you did a while back. So yeah.
Oh, Sheila, you came down to Oceanside.
I did.
Oh,
so I did get to see that show. It was incredible. Yes, so well done. So that was you, and this is you now, still following your bliss and helping people. And so that is really incredible. And you also have a book. It was more of a parenting book. And that book is my flippin' favorite. So could you share a little bit about that book? About its like your relationship with your son and this whole...
I love that you interpret that book is called When You Are Bursting.
Yes.
When You Are Bursting. And I love that you interpreted that book as a parenting book. That's really, really wonderful for me to hear. That is a book of 40 personal, true stories from my life.
Yeah.
Any category. They were just stories that I thought, well, I'm a storyteller at heart. This is a story I would like to share. But you're right, because I'm a father of two, at least half the stories in that book are about parenting.
Yes, and I loved that. That was like my favorite, because I have 6 now grown children. So I was like, I get that. And this story that I mean, I was laughing and crying all by myself reading your book. So
I'm waiting for our connection to reestablish itself here in a second. It just took a hiccup.
It does that sometimes.
Let me see. We've connection so far, and
you're back. I see
you're frozen on the screen, so if I'm unresponsive to your questions, Sheila, it's because currently you're frozen on the screen, but my screen is working very hard to refresh yours.
So
yeah, beautiful right? That our purpose, we can always execute on our purpose no matter what circumstance we're in. If Bliss Champions, what we like people to understand, though, is you can be conscious about where you desire blissfully to apply your purpose to. right? Your
Yeah.
purpose remains a constant through your whole life. Where your bliss calls you is changes, it evolves. For
Mm-hmm.
instance, my first bliss calling was to go into inspirational speaking. But then later on, it evolved after 13 years. It said it would be really joyful. I feel called to go into the theater world also. It wasn't an or, it was I'd like to add the theater world to my career. And so that's why we say, look, your bliss calls you to new chapters of your life, but your purpose remains constant.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sheila, what I know, you've referenced it, but what I know of you, and I'd like to sort of double down on your audience for, is Sheila's purpose has something very entirely to do with helping children who need help. No matter where Sheila goes,
Mm-hmm.
her purpose leads her and rewards her for lifting children up and giving them the support that they're missing.
Mm. Thank you. Yes, this is so true. And it is such a gift to be able to work with people, especially young people, and do that. So I'd love to hear, Patrick, one more time, because we are actually coming to the end of our time, about where people can get the book. And then for those who are looking for your full program, how they can apply to that program.
Thanks. Would love to receive anybody's application for Bliss Champions. If you go to blisschampions.com, you'll see right on the front page of it that we're accepting applications. And there's it just means that you're jumping on a phone call with myself or my wonderful business partner Eric, and we're just getting to know each other. My books are all available on Amazon.com, and the best way to find them would be to just start by entering my name, Patrick Coombs, and that'll show you a list of the 5 books I've written.
All right. All right. Thank you again, Patrick, for being a guest on the show. And for those tuning in, we'll be back after these messages. So stay tuned.
Thanks, Sheila.
All right. Thank you. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and I have some good news. We are now going global, broadcasting globally to just about every country on the planet, as well as continuing on all major podcast channels. So don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and visit me at SheilaMack.com to keep informed and learn more. And now let's get into the business of adding bliss to your career and personal life. You may be at a point in your life where you're wondering, should I create a side gig, a side career? Should I leave the career I've been in for many years? And many people already have. And so this is the moment in life when our destiny is shaped. As Tony Robbins often says, it is the moment of decision that our destiny is shaped. So, I wanted to share with you a little story about how I made a decision many years ago as a young girl. So, I began my career as an entrepreneur and property investment strategist back when I was 23 years young, when I boldly quit my government job with JPL NASA to open my first of 5 large gift stores. Also, I started at the same time to invest more in property. I got to work with some of the world's most loved companies, such as negotiating leases with Warner Brothers and winning trips to London as the top selling Crabtree and Evelyn provider in the US for multiple years. My stores and entire business career was built on heart as I gave back to the community I came from. As a young girl, with parents who were not well enough to care for me, I was homeless at 10 and then in foster care where it literally was impossible to get a job while in the system. I finally emancipated and at the age of 15 started college early. While running my stores, I worked with a government program called Job Training Partnership Act, making my stores an open source training site where close to 200 at risk youth started their careers. Now, one of the things that I did was I hired right because, again, I was 23 years young when I started this. And I did end up hiring an incredible lady. Let's just call her Elle. And Elle was a beautiful lady that was a prior social worker, but also a top sales lady at a major department store. And she was looking for flexibility in her work. So that was something I could provide. And also, she had such a heart for working with the kids that came through our store through the training program, and she could teach people how to sell. So she has recently just passed away, and we have stayed in touch all these many years, because imagine now I have kids that are older than 23. So at that rate, I do have a special thank you, and I'm sure she can hear and feel this. But she was such a huge part of our store, and that's the important thing of building a store or a business where you feel like you have family, where you build together. Now, when I first opened my store, I was the young upstart that all the other store owners in the community laughed at. And within a year, they were actually asking me to help them and give them business consulting, which I didn't know that was coaching or consulting. I didn't know what it was, but I started helping them. So I got to go to work every day and do what I naturally do best, being an enterprising and forward thinking business leader. I had quickly moved from leasing to buying my store buildings, all while raising a large family. And I automatically became a business consultant, as all the other small business owners would come to me for advice. They wanted to know, how in the heck am I buying the buildings? I ended up with 5 very profitable and successful gift stores, which gave me the ability to afford to help and create that open source training program for all those at-risk youths that later went on to have successful careers, and many opened their own businesses. So I have helped many people go from a business person who owned a job or had a grueling career to a business leader and investor who actually has time for what matters most. So now I want to get into how to get started when you are thinking about adding bliss to your career, your business, and your personal life. So if you are on the fence thinking, should I create a career? Should I leave the job that I hate? What should I do? Or maybe the business you've created that has turned into a full-time job where you never get a break, and all that time freedom you went to work to create is lost, and you're working very long hours in a business that isn't producing what you want. Well, then this is the time to take some notes, whether you listen to this again on YouTube on the Sheila Mack Show later on if you're driving, or take some notes now, maybe some mental notes. But that is, again, like that decision where your destiny is shaped. And it doesn't have to mean that you quit your job or close down your business, but sometimes in business and in life, you need a reboot. You need to sit down and you need to think about and clarify what you want. Is your business producing the results you desire? Or do you own a really busy job? And if you need to recreate business, I do go step by step, and I'm going to give you a few steps. If you are rebuilding a business you already have, it's a little bit different. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse than starting a business from scratch. But the best thing to do is pretend like you're starting from scratch with a fresh business plan, step-by-step new marketing plan, and also the hours that you're going to work plan. That's right. What are your non-negotiables that you maybe are not having in your life? Or if you're just starting this life, what non-negotiables are a must for you to have in your life? Does that mean time with your family and friends, time for exercise, fitness, travel time? Design your business around your life, because really and truly, in the beginning and the end of it all, that is what matters most. And with that in mind, even if you are working for a company and you are in a career and you don't want your own business, how can you create a life, a career, or a business that serves you and your family and speaks to your heart. So, as you heard about in my business, and something I've always done is been in contribution. That's a big thing for me. It's giving back, and so that is was part of, and still is. I still actually work with many foster homes and help mentor young girls, primarily who are actually now emancipating and going out on their own. That is a hard work for me. And sometimes in a business, it may be, or a career, your career or your business will fund your passion, your hard work, your contribution, your reason for hopping out of bed and knowing that you're making a difference. And so that's really important. But whether you are starting from scratch or rebuilding and rebooting, reinventing your business and personal life, this time on your terms, you got to start with the business plan and be really honest about things like your finances. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? I started with very little, saved up with my government NASA job, and then finally started my own gift shop. And before the store, I actually was selling things at swap meets on the weekends and buying and selling and trading and learning. And so there are steps to take before you get to go open a big store and or a business online, whatever you're planning to do, but make it yours. And remember that those small action steps and those non-negotiables are key, because you want to be able to enjoy the business you're creating. It's creating wealth for you, for the community, for whoever or however you want to contribute back, for anybody that works with you or for you. Even if you are in a career, how can you bring sustainable giving to your career so that you can enjoy that piece of your life more, and bring the gifts of your company or business to the world? These things make all the difference. Now, I do have a new course coming online, and that is going to be for creating your business, and that I literally guide you and walk you through step by step the process of how to do all these things. So if you want to take a list, if you're new to business or if you're restarting or rebuilding your business, things like how to use business credit versus your personal credit, which a lot of new small business owners start to do, is they tend to use their personal credit. They might refinance their home or other things to fund the business. You will literally get 10 to 100 times more over time with business credit, and then you'll be able to protect your personal assets should the business shift or we have another surprise 2020 situation or whatever. So these are important things. And in your business plan, this is something you can work with the Small Business Administration as well, in your city, state, or country usually. And there's step by step things that you need to do in your business plan to help you if you are looking for business funding, to get startup money, or perhaps to, if you are in a business for a long time that you're kind of rebooting right now with all the shifts going on, then it's really nice to have a solid plan written out. People need to see that. They need to see statements, income, and they need to understand where you're going with your business. Your marketing plan needs to be in there. And those are all pieces that when you get started, it's hard to think about. I learned how to market and do collaborative marketing and work with different businesses I had almost free marketing, and I still spent money on my marketing for sure, but we split up the costs in some pretty creative ways, and it really made a difference for the business. So there's some fun with that. And again, the goal is, yes, you want to make money, but to what end? You want to have a life. The money is to contribute to your life. And when your business contributes to others in one way or another, end your life, that's when you're going to have true success. So again, I guide entrepreneurs and working professionals through profitable action steps for creating a sustainable business from start, inception, or rebooting, all the way through. And then I also have a new course coming up, Creating Strategic Wealth Preservation. And this is whether you're in a career where you're working for a company or you have a business, creating a strategic wealth preservation plan that's individualized to you, that will help you keep the money that you've earned over the years, is going to make a big difference in the long term. And the other thing I do is I help you with the lifestyle design so that you have time for what matters most. So I invite you to continue to follow me. Again, we are going global with the show, and will continue to be on many major channels, all major podcasting stations, as well as Sheila Mac Show on YouTube. And I look forward to sharing more with you. Now, if you go to my website right now, it is in the process of being moved over to a Kajabi site. And so with that, stay tuned, because we will be having some wonderful new improvements on that site. And that is at SheilaMac.com. Is not one size fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation. To grab a copy of my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now available on Audible, as well as on Amazon and Kindle, and at www.sheilamac.com. Now, my memory, or my first meeting with Napoleon Hill, was actually back when I was 8 years old, and I did actually mention it in my new book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. This was such a changing point in my life. I was 8 years old. I was living house to house. My family was not. My mother and father were having health issues. They weren't really able to care for me full time. So I was sent from one relative's house to the other. Sometimes I was with the healthy grandparents. Sometimes I was with a group of grandparents that wasn't so healthy, and there was a lot of abuse going on. And at this point, I was 8 years old. I remember I was actually in a nice neighborhood. Unfortunately, the home had a lot of abuse going on. My mother was home with me for a short time, and I had taken up some little part-time jobs helping out in the neighborhood. So I would literally, this is back in the day when this was, I guess, a normal thing, I would go help out with cutting the lawn or cleaning and actually polishing furniture when people actually did that. And I would go do that for the neighbors and get money. And so I went with my hard-earned money, and I went over to another neighbor's house who was having a garage sale, and I found this incredible book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And at the time, my little 8-year-old mind, okay, this is 8-year-old mind, there was a lot of abuse, and my mother wasn't financially able to, or health-wise able to help me. She had polio as a child, and she had some other issues going on and emotional things. And so it was hard for her. And in my mind, I thought, okay, this book is going to do it, because it is going to tell me how to think and grow rich. And I really need to do that, because I wanted to get my own house or apartment for my mother and I, so that we wouldn't have to be moving around, and she would be in a safe place and I would be in a safe place. And so I took this book home, and I slept with the book. I read the book Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich from cover to cover. This little 8-year-old girl, I read that book over and over again for an entire year, and I literally still have that original copy with me today. I keep it on my nightstand by my bed, and I still reread it from time to time, and it has been such an incredible gift. And I think that somehow it was something that the principles in there, I took that to heart, a lot of the principles in there, and I really lived by a lot of that, and the idea of creating a definite plan for carrying out your desire and beginning at once, whether you're ready or not. I have Mastermind live weekly courses, and those are available at SheilaMac.com, SheilaMac.com. And I have a political message for you today. Are you ready to hear about politics? Probably not. So this season in the United States, if you are here, it is political season. So it's very interesting, and everybody's going to vote for somebody, hopefully. So vote your passion. But the most important thing that you can vote for is yourself and your family, your values, and your belief systems this year. So give yourself a vote for time for you, self-care time with your family and friends. Don't just spend your votes watching and listening to everybody else's opinion about what's going on or who you should vote for. You know your values, so vote for you. All right. You are just tuning in. This is Sheila Mac Show, and I am going to share a little bit more about what I do and how I came to do what I do. All right, take a listen.
Right. I started in business back when I was 23 years young. I left my job at JPL NASA doing programming and opened my first gift store. And with that, I ended up having 5 gift stores, and I was really big on contribution. So I came from being a homeless kid to emancipating from foster care at 15. So one of the things that I did was I actually created an open source learning program at my 5 gift stores, and close to 200 kids from foster care got to go through my training program. It was approved by the government through a program called JTPA. So they oversaw how I trained these kids. And I really believe that the success of my business came from that heart and giving back to the community. And with that, now, remember, I started 23 years young. I had to learn everything about running a gift store, building a business, and it was funny because most of the store owners were double my age, and they started coming to me because they wanted to know, how was I buying the buildings? So I got my real estate license, and I started teaching other store owners, small business owners, how to use business credit, how to invest, how to build so that they have other passive income coming in when the store or whatever business they're in shifts. And so that was, I was coaching before I knew I was coaching. So right now what I'm doing is I have a book, a radio show, and I also have lots of clients and small businesses. And I am working to help more clients. So my show is now syndicating in the next month to a global market, and I'm very excited about that. So I've also created some online courses that will be coming out. I'm still filming and recording them, and those will come out to go out into the world. So my courses will be available worldwide. They'll be priced based on vicinity, and so that way it'll be able to help mostly women, but men and women are all welcome, in business that are starting out, maybe in places that they really need an extra hand. So I make it affordable, but I'm helping people all over. So that's my heart and contribution and how I'm going out to make a difference.
So if you are listening in, tuning in today, on one of the shows, whether it's NBC KCAA radio or one of the other platforms, iHeartRadio and the podcast channels that I am on, I invite you to continue to follow me and join in. I will be offering many talks on business leadership, parenting in business, and how I did all that. I also raised 6 incredible children. I adopted 3 and 3 of my own. And so how I figured all that out was lots of trial and error. It brought me great success. I believe that even if you don't love the career or business you are in, that if you are able to find your heart in it, and that means find a way to give back, to be in contribution in whatever you're doing, it's like magic, because then you just jump out of bed in the morning and you know that what you're doing is making a difference in people's lives. And for some reason, this other magical thing happens where your business tends to be very richly blessed. It's almost like when we tithe at our church or wherever you give your donations to, or when you give time to a cause that you care about. Somehow the universe conspires for our highest and best goods, and it provides for us to be able to continue to be in contribution. And so that seems to be where, when you're giving to the community, your hands are opened in giving, and then you also get to receive the many blessings. Now, if you're just starting a business, if you work in a career and you want to have a side gig or a way to contribute, then this is a great thing for you to be able to listen to. I'll be sharing lots of different ways that I got it all done and still managed to have time for my family and what matters most to me. So I look forward to continuing to tune in. And now some more messages. Stay tuned. This is Sheila Mack. Thank you again for tuning in, and I have some homework for you. So go and get your copy of the new Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now on Amazon, Audible, Kindle, and all major bookstores. And get ready to tune in daily as I share the Business Leader Reboot. So that is starting a business, side business, or extra income. I don't care if you're starting from zero, rebooting, starting over completely. We are going to go through the steps over this year slowly together to rebuild, reboot, and reinvent your business and personal life, or your career and personal life on your terms. And I will also be sharing about investing in properties and how to get some passive income going this year as well. So stay tuned.
You need a guide to show you how we get through a situation like this, to give you resources and to help you get out of the emotional pea soup fog of dealing with a crisis and the resulting fallout. I've been there, and I'm here to help you.
Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mack's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.sheilamack.com today.